Chosen one, have you ever wondered what it truly means to be utterly alone at the most pivotal points of your life? I'm not talking about being physically by yourself. I'm talking about that deeper kind of isolation, where you're surrounded by people, yet no one can truly grasp what you're carrying. Where you try to explain the pain, you ask for help, you speak the words out loud, but they seem to fall into silence, unheard and unanswered. That kind of loneliness cuts deeper than absence. But here is the truth that will change how you see it forever. That season was not rejection, it was assessment. And 7 days ago, quietly, without warning, without applause, without anyone knowing, you passed it. There was no announcement, no visible confirmation, yet the result was so extraordinary that it triggered attention in realms you cannot see. Your growth, your restraint, your spiritual depth reached a level never before recorded in your personal journey. And because of that, something rare is unfolding. At exactly 3:33 this morning, a transition is taking place that only happens when a soul completes a critical phase of inner formation. This is not symbolic language. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is recognition. An acknowledgement in unseen dimensions that you are now able to carry authority that once would have overwhelmed you. If you feel this message stirring something deep inside you, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because what comes next will explain why you endured a season that broke so many others, and why it refined you instead. Stay with me, because I'm going to reveal what made you different. Why the moment 7 days ago activated something irreversible. Why the time 3:33 is not coincidence, but alignment set long before you were born. And I'll share the 3 unmistakable signs you'll notice within the next 24 hours that confirm this shift has already taken place. If you felt an unexplainable internal change recently, something subtle but undeniable, write 777 in the comments. Before we go any further, you need to understand the nature of what you passed. This was not a typical test. It measured something most people never fully develop: unshakable character. Real spiritual evaluation doesn't happen the way it's often presented. There are stages. The first tests obedience, doing what's right when authority is watching. The second tests conviction, holding your values when pressure tries to pull you off course. But the third level, this is where nearly everyone fails. Because this test doesn't come when you're prepared. It comes when you're drained, when you're exhausted, when you're hurting too deeply to think clearly, when you're running on instinct alone. And in that vulnerable state, when no one is watching, when no consequences seem visible, you reveal who you truly are. 7 days ago, sometime between evening and night, you were in that exact place. You didn't recognize it as a test because you didn't have the strength to analyze anything. Yet even then, you chose integrity. You chose restraint. You chose honor when no one would have known if you hadn't. That is what stopped everything. Because what was revealed in you wasn't performance, it was essence. And that is why heaven responded. This isn't something you consciously decide when you're strong, rested, and clear-minded. It's deeper than that. It's who you are at such a core level that it functions automatically. Even when you're depleted, broken, and running on nothing but instinct. And that, chosen one, is the unmistakable marker of a soul that has completed a true inner transformation. Here's something most structured belief systems never explain properly. The purpose of your spiritual path was never about collecting knowledge about God. It was about becoming so refined on the inside that divine nature becomes your default response. That's why Jesus didn't say, study love. He said, love your enemies. He didn't say, analyze forgiveness. He said, forgive endlessly. He understood that real change doesn't live in thought. It lives in reflex, in who you are when self-control is gone and only essence remains. When you held your integrity 7 days ago, in that moment of exhaustion and vulnerability, you triggered something ancient and precise in unseen realms. In old mystical writings across cultures, this moment is described as spiritual graduation. It's the point where a soul demonstrates readiness, not just understanding, but embodiment, and is cleared to carry greater responsibility and authority. That's why what's happening tonight is scheduled, not accidental. The hour of 3:33 in the morning is not random. Across spiritual traditions, certain windows of time are recognized as thresholds, moments when the barrier between dimensions becomes thinner. Between 3 and 4 a.m., human consciousness is at its quietest. Most minds are fully asleep. The collective mental noise that usually clouds perception drops away. And in that stillness, spiritual processes can move with clarity and precision. The number itself carries meaning. 3 repeated 3 times has long symbolized completion, alignment, and divine order. You see it echoed everywhere. Milestones of spiritual fulfillment, patterns of growth, even in the structure of the human body itself. These aren't superstitions. They're recurring markers woven through sacred history and symbolism. So tonight, while your conscious mind rests and your defenses are lowered, a process described for thousands of years will be set in motion. One that many dismiss as metaphor, but mystics recognize as real. You are being acknowledged, and this recognition involves 3 permanent internal shifts. First, your spiritual authority is being activated. This isn't about speaking louder or being more persuasive. It's about resonance. When you speak truth from this place, it carries weight. People feel it, even if they can't explain why. You've experienced this before, listening to someone whose words land in your chest, not just your ears. That frequency is not given lightly. It's entrusted only to those who've proven they won't misuse influence. Second, your inner sovereignty is coming online. This is the foundation that makes you far less susceptible to manipulation, fear-driven control, or emotional chaos. It doesn't mean life stops challenging you. It means challenges no longer dictate who you become. You'll notice reactions that once pulled you into anxiety or anger simply don't hook you the same way. Not because you're numb, but because you're anchored. Third, your discernment is sharpening. This isn't intuition as a party trick. It's clarity born of maturity. You'll begin sensing truth beneath appearances without needing long analysis. You'll feel alignment or deception almost instantly. Decisions will come with an inner knowing that feels calm, not frantic. This isn't about predicting the future. It's about perceiving reality more accurately. These shifts aren't rewards meant to elevate your ego or make life effortless. They are tools. Tools given because you are needed. Here, now, in this specific moment of history. If this message resonates deeply and you feel aligned with supporting this work, consider showing your support. Generosity creates exchange, and exchange amplifies impact. What flows outward returns multiplied. And now let me share the 3 signs you'll notice within the next 24 hours. Clear confirmations that this transition has already taken place. The first sign will be a level of mental clarity you're not used to. When you wake up tomorrow, it will feel as though your mind has been cleared out, like fog lifting that you didn't even realize was there. The constant looping thoughts will quiet down. The worries that usually drain your focus will feel strangely distant. And in that calm, answers will begin to appear. Problems that once felt impossible will suddenly look manageable, even obvious. This isn't forced positivity. It's what happens when your awareness shifts to a higher level, where confusion no longer has the same grip. The second sign will show up in your body, not just your thoughts. You'll notice a deep, steady peace settling in your chest and core. It won't be tied to circumstances. Your life doesn't have to suddenly be perfect. Challenges may still exist, but underneath it all, there will be a sense of safety, grounding, and inner stability that doesn't need an explanation. This is your nervous system recognizing alignment. On a cellular level, your body will know you are supported and exactly where you are meant to be. The third sign will be unmistakable synchronicity. Within the next day, you'll encounter moments that feel too precisely timed to dismiss. You'll think of someone and they'll reach out. You'll be searching for clarity and the exact message or resource will appear. You'll face a challenge and the right help will arrive at the perfect moment. This isn't coincidence. This is what happens when alignment deepens and life begins responding to you differently, because you can now carry that level of support responsibly. If you recognize these signs unfolding, write "crowned" in the comments, not as a boast, but as a testimony that encourages others who are still walking their path. Now listen carefully, because there is one danger you must stay aware of. The greatest threat after this moment is spiritual pride. When you notice the clarity, the peace, the alignment, there may be a subtle temptation to believe you are above others, that you've arrived while everyone else is still struggling. You must resist that thought completely. Being elevated does not make you superior. It makes you accountable. Every soul is exactly where it needs to be. Some are just beginning. Some are learning hard lessons. Some are nearing completion. You've simply finished this stage. That doesn't place you above anyone. It positions you to serve differently. If pride enters, the shift doesn't disappear instantly. It fades slowly. The clarity dulls. The peace weakens. The synchronicities lessen. Because power is never entrusted to those who use it to elevate themselves. It is sustained only by those who lift others. When you feel tempted to judge someone for still wrestling with what you've overcome, remember who you were not long ago. Remember how long your own process took. Let compassion replace comparison. Let humility anchor authority. Now understand this clearly. No external force can take what you've been given. Not circumstances, not opposition, not even God. Only you can release it. What you receive is not a physical crown. It's a frequency you maintain through integrity. It is sustained as long as your actions align with your values. The only way it fades is through conscious, deliberate compromise. Not mistakes, not weakness, but intentional betrayal of your principles for personal advantage. After this moment, misuse carries weight. Influence multiplied without integrity creates immediate consequences. That's why the testing was so intense. That's why the evaluation happened when you were exhausted, unseen, and vulnerable. Because the universe needed certainty, and you proved that even then, when it would have been easy to justify another choice, you chose what was right. So tonight, as this transition completes, remember this truth. Authority is given to serve. Peace is meant to be shared. Discernment exists to protect, not to judge. If you walk in humility while carrying strength, what you receive will not be temporary. It will become part of who you are. And finally, understand why this moment matters beyond you. Humanity is entering a period of profound change. Old systems are breaking down. Trusted structures are losing credibility. Many people feel disoriented, uncertain, and searching. In times like these, what the world needs most is not louder opinions, but living examples. People who have walked through darkness and emerged grounded. People who have suffered and become compassionate instead of bitter. People who carry calm in chaos and integrity in uncertainty. That is why your journey mattered. That is why your transformation mattered. That is why this moment is happening now. Your life itself will become the message, not through speeches, not through arguments, but through the quiet authority of who you've become. And that is something no one can take from you. This wasn't transformation you studied. It was transformation you lived. This wasn't character you admired from a distance. It was character you forged in fire. This wasn't integrity you spoke about when it was convenient. It was integrity you protected when compromise would have been easier. And that, right there, is the message the world is starving for right now. Not polished speeches, not beautiful spiritual language, not endless theories about awakening. The world needs proof. Living evidence that a human being can walk through pressure, isolation, loss, and confusion, and come out grounded, compassionate, and whole. Tonight, when heaven places that crown upon you, it is not for decoration. It is a commissioning. You are not being asked to carry the weight of the whole world. You are not being tasked with saving everyone. Your calling is simpler and far more powerful. You are meant to shine for the ones whose paths mirror yours, the ones who recognize themselves in your story, the ones who will look at your life and realize, if they survived that and stayed true, maybe I can too. That is enough. That is always enough. So receive what is given tonight with gratitude. Walk tomorrow with humility and carry it forward with unwavering integrity. That is the mark of a chosen one. Not superiority, not perfection, but reliability. You became someone heaven can trust, especially when no one else is watching. Every lonely night that felt meaningless was not wasted. Every moment where you stood alone without understanding was not random. That isolation was your final evaluation, and you passed. Welcome to your coronation. If you sense deep down that something shifted within you 7 days ago, and you know you are ready to receive what comes next, write 777 in the comments as a declaration of alignment and spiritual graduation. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future messages meant for those walking this uncommon path, those whose journey goes far beyond surface understanding. Share this video with someone who feels they've crossed an invisible threshold and may not yet have words for it. Chosen ones are meant to recognize one another, especially in moments like this. And if this message reached your spirit in a meaningful way and you feel led to support this work, a super thanks contribution helps keep these transmissions moving outward to those who are still searching. Every act of generosity returns in ways unseen. We are stronger together. Your coronation begins tonight at 3:33. Stay open, stay grounded, and be ready. And